G'day, Groovers. Welcome to the Shitty Kitty Kitchen, where today I say a little prayer. Oh, 1973, please be kind to me. Oh, my YouTube channel. Sorry. Mute. Mute. No one's walked in yet either. Bad start. Rough start. Back to 1973 we go with the USA Recipe Card Challenge. Yes. Yep, the McCall's recipe cards. McCall's Great American Recipe Card Collection. This is from their party casseroles section. And hey, Susie, hi, Cement Shoes. It's a chicken and shrimp casserole. Or as I'd like to call it, the wrong casserole. Everything about this is wrong. Everything about this recipe has taught me we've come a long way from the 70s when it comes to cooking, because we're going to go through the steps of this and I'll explain why we go along, why everything about this fucker is wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Hey, Anastasia Beaverhausen. Hello there. So, yeah, 1973. It's going to be a horror show. I've done some prepping already, but in the TARDIS back to my mum's golden avocado green kitchen. Well, it is a kind of a jambalaya, yes, but me personally, if I was making something like this, all the ingredients would go into a pot, into the oven, and they'd all bake together happily. You know, like the modern day baked risottos. This fucker, everything's pre-cooked. It's going to be disgusting. Let's get on with cooking. Good lookings. Here we go. Bench cam. I'm afraid for me too, Anastasia. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Oh, the first thing I need to do actually is get out a saucepan for assemblage of all of this hideousness. So, yeah, although it looks pretty unassuming and innocent, at the end of this live, we will be drawing out what I'm making next. I will be making during the week I'm trying to get a good shot for you, a Sicilian cake, but that's going to be a video because it takes about 7 friggin' hours to make the fucking thing. But we will be drawing out at the end of this live another card as well. Hopefully something savory. If it's a baked thing, I'm putting it back in. We can't have a big, nasty 1973 cake in the house and some other sweet thing. Now, I'm streaming on both Better Call Tour and the Shitty Kitty Kitchen, but if a mod does come in, I'm trying to migrate everyone for cooking over to the Shitty Kitty Kitchen. So jump on over there. If you type in Shitty, SHXTTY Kitty Kitchen, you'll find it. You prefer chicken and sausage gumbo. Shrimp is a bit chewy for my taste. Well, let's talk about that first, shall we? Now, I'm actually skipping the very first step in this recipe. I am sacrificing 6 tiger prawns. In Australia, we call what you call shrimp prawns. We've also got shrimp, but they're like tiny, 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 tiny. But these $11 worth of prawns, all 6 of them, is all I'm prepared to sacrifice. And I'll explain why shortly. I mean, A, I love them, but B, this recipe is going to murder them and every other fucking ingredient. Because the first process, in a large saucepan, bring 1 quart of water to boiling. Add the shrimp and a teaspoon of salt, and the recipe calls for a pound of shrimp, shelled and deveined. I've already shelled and deveined these prawns because I do them over at my sink area, and you guys didn't need to see that part of it. Fortunately, I was unable to buy any raw prawns yesterday except for like a 5 kilo frozen bag, and I don't do frozen seafood either. So this was all I could get, but the raw prawns at the shop where I got these had already been all bought. So, but yeah, the first step, in a large saucepan, you boil the water, chuck in a teaspoon of salt and a pound of raw shrimp, and you let them return to boiling, reduce the heat and simmer covered for 10 minutes, and then drain. Does anyone want to rub a ball in their chicken and shrimp casserole? Because that's one way to do it. Murder of prawnage ain't going to happen. And I couldn't get raw prawns anyway. I was going to make this recipe true to the recipe, but the thought of boiling prawns or shrimp for 10 minutes before they even go into this thing, which is going to bake for an hour, allegedly, not going to happen. Yeah, these are the big ones. The tiger prawns are the biggest prawns that we get. So, yeah, they're pretty huge and they're divine. And I could eat them right now. They're cooked already. But these poor little buggers are going to get murdered. So let's get on with that, hey? So we're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or after I Googled it, it's 180 degrees Celsius for those of us in metric land. So the oven is going on. I have already also prepared the rice. I have boiled and drained 3/4 of a cup of long grain rice. This is jasmine rice. So I did that beforehand as well. I come prepared. Apparently this casserole has to sit in the oven for an hour. I have issues with that. But if it does need a long amount of time, which I just think is adding to the murdering, I'm hoping I can cut it a bit shorter. Otherwise, I'm going to have to log off, boo-boo, and then come back and do the taste test a little bit later. Nothing on these recipe cards is simple or quick. Nothing. Oh, we would definitely get shrimp fresher than you do in the mid-USA. Now, I've turned my computer. I might change my mind on that. I've turned it upright, like, because it's a laptop that can fold open like a tablet. Actually, let's see if maybe it'll stand up without that. I had my coffee trying to keep the tablet upright, but it might be okay. It's not shrimp rubber bands by there. I know, see. It's hideous. No, these aren't still alive. They're very dead. They're missing their heads and their poop things, you know. I've cleaned the poopy bits out. These are thoroughly clean prawns. You haven't eaten seafood except when you're back home on the East Coast in 20-some odd years. Such a difference in taste. Yeah, look, when you live inland, you're not near any water, I wouldn't touch seafood either. It's all been frozen and defrosted and nang. Eat local. Eat to what grows in your local area. Okay, so the oven's on and I've already cooked the rice. And like I said, it's a long grain rice. The next thing we're going to do is the chicken component. Now, I am tweaking this recipe a bit purely because I think it's going to taste like shit anyway. But I also didn't want to spend a fortune. Like I said, that was $11 worth of prawns, 6 tiger prawns. Oh, they are going to get murdered. Well, they're cut. Their dead bodies are going to get murdered even more. Now, the recipe calls for 2 chicken legs and thighs, 2 whole chicken breasts split. So it says like 2.5 pounds of chicken. I've just gone ahead and bought a packet of chicken thighs. That's what I'm using for this recipe. A, because they're cheap-ish. And B, because I just can't imagine wasting this much chicken. Like if this thing tastes horrible, and I'm actually just going to do it in a little bit of bite-sizey sort of pieces. But yeah, the thought of, now with your chicken thighs, you don't have to trim off the fat because it actually dissolves when you cook it. Sometimes there are big lumps of fat that I get rid of because it's just a bit too much oil for me. But I used to spend hours trimming chicken thighs, getting rid of every little bit of fat. And then one day I was watching a show where they were talking about the merits of using. So there's a bit of fat that I cut those big chunky bits off. But yeah, they were making a chicken curry with thighs, which is the best meat to use in a curry, and said, don't trim the fat off because it actually dissolves and it adds to the flavour of the dish. And I think the one thing this dish is going to need is flavour, because I'm not convinced it's going to be very nice at all. Lobster and butter sauce, yum. I know, I'm going to be so upset if I draw out a card and it's crayfish, because crayfish are so expensive here. And so far, everything I've made out of, and this is only the third thing I've made, but so far everything has been a little bit wrong. The first thing, the chicken skewers that we marinated in the soy sauce and everything. I love soy sauce. The first couple of pieces I had, I was like, if you like soy sauce, you're going to like these. The problem was it also had a sauce that was made with soy sauce. And on the third piece of chicken, when I had turned off the go live button or the end broadcast button, I drank about 7 litres of water. Just washing my hands. I'm kind of thinking I can't go majorly wrong with this, except that everything is just going to be completely overcooked. But we're talking tomato, chicken, prawns, rice, and not much else. But, you know, can we really fuck this up? We can't. Well, I wouldn't willingly fuck this up, but I think the recipe card is going to make one hell of a nightmare dish. So the chicken is done. And what we're going to do is put a saucepan on medium to high heat. And we're going to do a little bit of chicken browning. There we go. So you can get a bit of an action shot. I've just got some Argentine red shrimp from Trader Joe's. They tasted very similar to lobster. Oh, they sound delicious. I don't think these are going to be... I don't think I'm going to use the word delicious. But I'm just using a big saucepan. They said to use a Dutch oven. I mean, I've got a Dutch oven, but it's like, you know, huge. So I'm just using a big saucepan to brown the chicken because a few other things have got to go in. You'll see why I'm using a saucepan rather than a frying pan. And we're just going to put a little bit of oil into the pan. Now, the recipe calls for... where are we? 3 tablespoons of salad oil. Yeah, I've cut down the amount of chicken, so I'm not going to put that much in, but I am going to cover the base a bit and just get that nice and hot for browning the chook. But yeah, if you were doing this recipe correctly, you'd be using a pound of raw shrimp that you've already murdered for 10 minutes in a pot of boiling water, and then you'd be using 2.5 pounds of chicken legs, thighs, and breasts split. But first up, we're going to brown the chicken. And I'm just going to chuck in a little piece so we can get some sizzle action happening. In fact, while that's heating up, let's see what next unfortunate, innocent piece of food is going to have to be murdered. Some onion. All right. Because I'm not using as much chicken as the recipe demands, I'm going to use more vegetables than the recipe demands. This is where 1973 is really fucked up. This recipe, which I'm cooking in a huge pot at the moment, you should see the size of the casserole dish, says to use 1/2 cup of chopped onion. No, I'm going to use the whole friggin' onion because I need to add a few more things to make up for the kind act I'm doing the chicken. I'm just going to put some of the chicken in. But 1/2 an onion? Really? Come on, guys. I might do this in batches. The recipe doesn't say to do that, but I don't like stewed chicken. I know I said I'd do these recipes true to the recipes, but I have to intervene sometimes because potentially this will be my dinner. God help me. So if I can give it any assistance in the cooking steps, I'm going to. But we're going to try and brown these, which in a saucepan, browning, not always easy. But this recipe saying this thing has to bake for an hour concerns me considerably, considering pretty much everything that's going to go into the oven is already pre-cooked. I just think another hour of torturing them is just downright nasty. While we wait for those to brown, let's start chopping up this onion. I'm sorry, little onion. You don't deserve this. None of you do. 1973 isn't being nice to me or anyone, especially not the ingredients. If this is repugnant, and it could well be, I'm getting a wood-fired pizza for dinner. We have a pizza truck down the road, and that's what I'll be eating. Not a lot of browning going on yet. Argentine red shrimp sounds really interesting, especially if it tastes like crayfish or lobster. All right, so our little onion, we're just going to chop it. I'm not going to finely chop it because I think a bit of chunk would be nice. I think this recipe needs a lot of help. It needs CPR, in fact. So where I can potentially improve what is clearly going to be hideous, I'm going to do it. Speaking of hideous, keep an eye out for the video when I make the Sicilian cake. That's got hideous written all over it. Also, because of this recipe, I now have an ingredient in my house that I have never had before. Some might say that's groovy. Chat is either frozen or none of you are speaking. You're just watching on in horror. What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, so I'm chucking this whole goddamn onion in it. I'm not doing half an onion and then having to throw half an onion later. And like I said, hopefully it'll fatten the dish a bit because I'm taking a lot of the chicken out, the amount required. This isn't going to brown at all. And it's bad enough that we're going to turn prawns into a rubber ball. So I'm going to take the chook out. And that goes straight into your casserole dish that you're going to be baking this poor bugger in for an hour according to the recipe. But like I said, I'm hoping we can just chuck it in for like 10 minutes because everything's cooked. I'll just put the rest of the chook in. Brown, you bastards, brown. Yeah. This pot, isn't it gorgeous? Look at the colour. It's like an amazing sort of teal colour. I've got two of them, but the other one looked like it might be a bit small. And I figured if this is a bit big, at least the surface area will be wider. It won't need to cook for an hour. The rubber's coming though, Susie. Okay. Now, it was the 70s in America. Do you think that the recipe card collection took the opportunity to add shitloads of veggies into the diet, into the diets of ordinary Americans? No, This is the other vegetable that's going in, a green pepper, you guys call it, or we call it a capsicum. And again, I'm going to chop up the whole thing and chuck it in because this dish needs help. I'm just going to take the core out. And the seeds come out of the core. But yeah, I'm prepared to sacrifice this capsicum for the sake of, I don't know, adding some nutritional benefits. A bit of water in there from when I washed it before. Some nutritional benefits. But yeah, half a capsicum. I mean, seriously, you know, don't go too crazy on the veggies, America. You might get a shock. Half a capsicum, really? Or green pepper? Just trimming out the pith because it pisses me off. It doesn't really, but it's very bitter. And like I said, this recipe needs help. Any opportunities where I can reduce the trauma, I'm taking them. Oh, I didn't count the bumps on the bottom. I think ours have got 3. Interesting questions, Susie. And our capsicum or our green pepper just needs to be chopped. So again, I'm going to go a little bit chunky because, you know, it might be the thing in the dish that I look forward to encountering. I think ours have got 3 on the bottom. I want to know the significance of that. But yeah, I'm going a little bit chunky because that's the bit of this dish I'm going to look forward to the most. The capsicum. Not the prawns, because they're not going to resemble prawns shortly. They're going to be like little bouncy rubber balls in a swimming pool of tomato and rice. Getting hot in here. Okay, that's done. Just wipe my board. 4 lumps is a female, 3 is a male. I never knew that. That's awesome, Susie. Thank you. All right, let's rescue this last bit of chicken. So I'm murdering a dude capsicum green pepper. All right, so you take your chicken out and put that to one side. And then the recipe says to discard all but 2 tablespoons of drippings from the Dutch oven. But there's barely 2 tablespoons in there, so we're just going to soldier on. Oh, that's right, because I didn't put mountains of oil like the recipe demanded. And we're going to saute the onion and the green pepper until tender for about 5 minutes. Because everything's got to be like cooked to death before it even gets put in the oven, where things get cooked to death. I'm just going to make sure this poor unfortunate vegetables all get a good... There's some superb caramelization happening on the bottom of my saucepan. That's about the only exciting thing I can report to you, greeters, at the moment. I need to just grab some... Now, here's where lovely ingredients going in that I shall also mourn. Some cream. I'm just going to get that out of the fridge. Poor cream will be needing you shortly. I'm thinking that the rice... Look, every ingredient's okay. I have no issues with any of it. It's just the 1973 American way to just pre-cook everything first and then bake it. Whereas these days, you chuck it all into one pot. Who doesn't love one pot cooking? And stick it in the oven, and it comes out incredible. Or your slow cooker, or your air fryer, whatever you've got, whatever you cook with. But this pre-cooking everything first is murder. It's a goddamn recipe for disaster, if you ask me. But as you will see shortly, when we start to assemble this horror, we're really only just starting to realise how brutal this recipe is. Look at you going, no, and prayers. Well, there was a coffin and a crucifix. Oh, yes. And I was relieved when I pulled this card out because I was like, oh, look, it's a chicken and prawn casserole. Thank God it's not, a 1970s aspic salad, because I know they're coming. Unfortunately, when I opened the recipe box, here it is, by the way. The recipe box, that's the cake I'm going to be making, the Sicilian cake. I Googled Sicilian cakes out of curiosity. They do use candied fruit. It is an Italian cake, but they don't have chocolate frosting or icing. So you guys have completely messed with an Italian thing. Best $15 I've ever spent, although there's a girl selling an open set of these used set on Etsy for $500 at the moment. These were all in individual packets and sealed up. But aspic is coming somewhere in here because I saw the tops of each packet. Each pack, I think, had 10 recipe cards, but we will be drawing the next nightmare out of here later on. So you come back for that. Once I ordered a pizza with ghost peppers on it, not knowing what they were. Yeah, poor shrimps. I know. Look, I'm not prepared to murder these any longer. There's the capsicum and onions. They're looking soft. And you'll see that it's not burnt, but there's caramelization on the bottom. But we need to take it off the heat because now we're going to start assembling this horror show. And that's the best way to describe it. The first thing we're going to add, in true 70s fashion, a can of condensed tomato soup. Yep, a whole can. What was a casserole in the 70s without a can of soup in it, right? There she blows. So the ghost peppers are the ones that are like crazy hot, right? Okie dokie, the can has gone in. We'll just give that a bit of a stir because that'll get some of that yummy caramelization. This next ingredient could help. Oh yeah, and don't dilute. Like put the soup in condensed. We're going to add a cup of heavy cream or thickened cream, as we call it. I am guesstimating a cup, 600 mils, so it's just under half of the container. About 250 mils for a cup of cream, just a dash for good luck, because this dish needs every bit of help and luck it can get. Does anyone have a crucifix? Look, the cream could be the thing. The cream could be the saving grace. Yeah. Next up, an ingredient, like I said, that I've never had in my house before, but thanks to this dish, I'm now the proud owner of a bottle of dry sherry. Yep. Royal Reserve McWilliams Royal Reserve Dry. Not sure what I paid for this, but every grandmother has sherry in their liquor cabinet. But yeah, I mean, I might have cooked with sherry a long time ago. It sort of makes an appearance around Christmas time. If this recipe gets any more depressing, half a cup Groovers. If this recipe gets any more depressing, I might actually try my first ever glass of dry sherry. Would you recommend it? Whoops. Even the sherry lid wants to get the hell out of my kitchen. Smart lid. I've never made tomato soup with cream before. I mean, when I was growing up, it was a can of condensed tomato soup, half water, half milk. And exactly the same for us, Susie. And I was bummed. I couldn't actually get Rosella's tomato soup, which is my favourite. I got the Coles brand. I mean, I'm skimping on ingredients when I'm going to be murdering $11 worth of prawns, and I've literally got 6 prawns. It's a sad day in the shitty kitty kitchen. So we've added the sherry. We are going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I'm going to measure this perfectly because I want to talk about the seasoning of these 73 recipes, because seasoning is not always a strength. So, yeah, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. We're also going to add, shame really, we're only going to add 1/2 teaspoon of a Worcestershire sauce, also known as cooking sherry of a good kind, what, the Royal Reserve. 1/2 teaspoon of Worcestershire. What a shame there's not half a bottle, because it might actually kill all the other confusing flavours. Oh, speaking of skimping on flavours, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Seriously, why bother? That's just ridiculous. I'm going to be a bit generous with the pepper. 1/4 teaspoon, and it gets worse. Still speaking about measly flavouring, we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of thyme. I mean, why bother? Why bother? In she goes. It's like making absolutely no effort to have anything seasoned. Yeah, only cook with what you'll drink. Don't go for cooking sherry or cooking wine if you wouldn't drink it or cook with it. Well, the guy in the bottle shop told me that I would be able to drink that one as well as cook with it. And I looked at him and said, I'm not old enough to become a sherry drinker. How dare you? How dare you, young man? All right. So that's well blended. And now things get disturbing. Now we're going to add that rice I prepared earlier. This was 3/4 cup of uncooked jasmine rice, which now cooked is about 1.5 cups of cooked rice. That's got to go into this mixture. I cry, I tell you, I cry. I make the most amazing Thai chicken baked risotto imaginable. And the rice, the chicken, everything, it all goes in raw. It all goes into the oven. And it's one of the most amazing dishes imaginable. But no, today we've pre-cooked friggin' everything. And they say it needs to bake for an hour. How cruel can you get? And, all right, it's time to say a prayer. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed be the prawns, and for what I am about to do to them. Father, forgive me. I will say rosaries until I remember them. In the sweet baby Jesus' name. Amen. They're going in. It's been nice knowing you. The best $11 I've ever spent in my life. Amen. Something else that you can use the sherry for is a crab bisque, or a crab bisque with a she crab bisque. A she crab bisque as opposed to a he crab bisque. Anyway, mix all of this glugginess together. It's kind of like a paella, except fucking nothing like one. Okay. It's time the chicken is introduced to its fate. Father, forgive me, I am about to sin again. you get this big saucepan of sludge and we pour it in over the chook, burying it alive. Well, it's not alive, but you know what I'm saying. There she blows. I'm glad I chose this casserole dish. I thought it'd be a bit big. But nay, it's perfect for the job. And we want to give this a really good mix, guys. Look, to be honest, that isn't too bad. It's not as scary as I first thought. I mean, it is scary, but the proof is in the pudding, right? So we're going to whack the lid on and say one more prayer. Godspeed chicken and prawn casserole. And into the oven it goes for 1 hour. 1 hour. Il si stormine patron. So say thank you for praying. Now, are they tears or are you throwing up? They're tears, Anastasia. It is a very sad day. So, since you guys are special, I'm obviously going to end this live shortly and we'll be back in an hour. On the dot, well, actually it says bake covered for 1 hour or until the chicken is tender. Well, the chicken's tender right now. But in that hour, I will clean up the kitchen. I will also go out to my herb garden and get some fresh parsley. I've got just enough sprigs now to start using my parsley as a little garnish. I'm a bit excited about that. But let's take this opportunity, since you beautiful people are in my chat, to see what nightmare I'll be making. Well, actually, the one I'll be making next, but this will be a video, is this one, the Sicilian cake. That's candied fruit. And the filling is chopped chips and candied fruit and cream. Oh, yes. But this bastard takes like a day to make. So I will be filming it and doing it in little steps and editing it. So that's coming up Tuesday. I'll be making it. Don't know when you'll see the video for that. So we're going to draw the next card. Now, I've already explained to people there are some times that I do have to reject a card. One is if it's a pork dish because I'm allergic to it. Skip the fruit and it looks good. Well, that's another thing. The recipe requires candied fruit. We don't really have that in Australia. So I've bought a few individual bags of different types of fruit in some sort of preserved state. And I'm going to mix them together and pretend they're candied fruits. But we don't have like the bags of mixed candied fruits. So if it's pork, but also I've already rejected a snail recipe because I cannot buy snails in Tassie, and I'm also not going to cook or eat snails. I ate them when I lived in Vietnam. Unless you're in a high-end French restaurant, I wouldn't recommend ever eating snails. So the question is, where would you like the next card to come from, the front, the middle, or the back? Now, right at the very back of the recipes we've already made. And also I have to do a quick scan of it to see if it's something I'll be able to do live. If it's not, it'll join the Sicilian cake and become a video. But the first person that says front, middle, or back, cement shoes, back. All right. Now, I don't look at the picture. We get to see that together. Oh, wait a minute. That one's facing the wrong. Oh, no, it's facing the right way. Oh. Okay. Well, it's going to be a bit like this one, guys. I'm basically going to prepare it, and then it's going to need to cook for a long time. But next time we are going to be making, and this makes me cry because lamb is so expensive now, we're making another casserole. A lamb and vegetable. Again, it's from the party casserole selection. Do you want me to redraw? Is this too similar to what I've just done? You guys get to choose. I'm a bit of a Puritan and like, no, I've got to make what I've pulled out. But this is another casserole. The party casserole. I did shuffle them a little bit, but I didn't want to see anything. Redraw. Okay. So are we going to go from the front, the middle, or the back? Bearing in mind the back could be where all the, and I've just put that casserole back in the back. Maybe the party casseroles are sort of hanging out here. I don't know. I did try to mix them up a little bit. Yeah, let's switch it up. I don't want to do 2 casseroles in a row, and I'm not really a fan of lamb and veggie casseroles either. Don't get me wrong, I'll make it, but it's not like something I'll be like, oh, yummy. Plus, I trim every single piece of fat off lamb. It will take days just for me to get the lamb fat-free because I can't stand lamb fat. Hey, Scout, we're doing the draw for the next thing I'm going to make, although we're making a casserole from the party cut. Maybe that's a new rule, guys. We can't do a recipe from the same pack of cards 2 shows in a row. There you go. There's my new rule. So are we going front, back, middle? You're just stalling so that we're still talking in an hour and that bloody casserole's done, right? You're sorry for before you doze off. Don't ever apologise that you got to have a nap, Scout. Good on you. This is my 3rd time live today, and you've been front, all right? Cement shoes is known. Right, we're going to go from the front. I'm going in, but if it's from the same set. Oh, Jesus. Okay. It's arrived. I knew it was going to happen. It's hideous. I will be making this live, but just so everyone knows, the thing has to refrigerate for 4 hours or overnight. But the time has come, my guys. Oh, my God. I'm going to puke. I'm going to puke. We're all going to get to see the picture together for the first time, but the gelatin has arrived, guys. Help me. Oh, no. Oh, Christ. Look at that gigantic thing busting out of a bloody huge ramekin. Oh, guys, no. Look, it's a pumpkin mousse. Pumpkin mousse. No, we can't redraw, mate. This is from a packet I haven't done yet. And pumpkin mousse. Look, it's a mousse, though. It's not like a jelly. But it's from the Woodstock Inn in Woodstock, Vermont. This is where this recipe is from. There is gelatin. It looks delectable. Well, it'll be worth watching just to see if I can decorate it. And I've got to work out what I'm going to be able to make it in because does this thing rise? Oh, and there's ingredients I'm going to struggle. I don't know if we have canned pumpkin. I don't know if we have canned pumpkin, so I might have to make a puree or something. Would that be the same? If I buy a pumpkin and boil it and make a puree? So, yeah, it's a mousse. I mean, it does have gelatin in it, but it's more of a mousse. I'm going to have to get out my little piping bag, guys. You've gained 5 pounds. Look, luckily I have a friend who will eat this shit. I'll be delivering this to Scotty as soon as I turn off the end broadcast button when I make it. You just did that. What did you just do, Anastasia? Well, yeah, I mean, we have pumpkins here all year round. We're a cool climate. But if they want canned pumpkin, sweet potatoes, canned yams or sweet potatoes, probably, look, I will suss out the aisle. I might be surprised. You just baked 2 pumpkin pie pumpkins and pureed them. Okay. You do Cool Whip. We don't have that here either. We don't have cream in a can. But yeah, so there we have it, guys. It's a step towards the jelly jello nightmare. I don't mind a mousse. I love a mousse. I love a salmon mousse. Do you remember the Monty Python Meaning of Life? But I didn't eat the salmon mousse. Shut up, you're already dead. I love a salmon mousse. Pumpkin, not sure. Looks kind of, is this a dessert or a main course? What is this? Or an appetizer? See, in Australia, we have appetizer, entree, main course, dessert. Why you guys call your mains entrees, I don't know. Entree means first dish. You took a French word and you gave it a whole new meaning. I don't think we have canned pumpkin. I mean, we've got baby food that's pumpkin. I don't mind making a pumpkin puree. But we cook from scratch too. Like we buy the veggies and like I said, if I need to, I'll make a puree. I'll follow Anastasia's advice. Just a question, what is in the middle of it? Oh, I think they're almonds, slivered almonds that have been toasted. Oh, yum, yum. I was like, what are those little wormy things? And then that's cream. What is this? Is this savory or sweet? It has got sugar in it. I'm going to puke eating this. I know that much. I love pumpkin, but this is a murdered pumpkin. Anywho, we'll be making this during the week. This is going to be a video. And this little baby will need to go in the fridge for 4 hours or overnight. So I'll be making it in one part. Nothing in this recipe collection is quick. Nothing. You know how when I cook my food, I choose like 5 ingredients, things that we can make in under half an hour? There, 1973, they had nothing else to do but spend a day making shit like this. It's a dessert. Wow. It's a crime. It's a friggin' crime. Why is it like that in the gently remove paper? I've got to make a paper collar. It makes 8 servings. That's 8 happy visitors to my house. Where's the paper collar? Folded 24-inch piece of wax paper lengthwise into thirds. All right, this is already going to mess with my head. Form a 2-inch collar around 1 quart straight-sided souffle dish. Okay. Tie with string to hold in place. Wow. Just constructing the thing I've got to murder this in is going to be an effort. Why didn't you just use a bigger dish and tip it out? I don't know. But true to form. So there we have it. And it's another sweet. That's all right. So that you guys don't think I'm just picking on USA in the 70s, I am cooking my way through a 1980s Australian Women's Weekly cookbook. I'll find something savoury from there. I still haven't made the curried egg salad, but what the hell, guys? Let's grab that book and see if we can find a savoury dish. Because I can't just be all about desserts. In fact, there might be a break before I make that pumpkin thing because, I don't know, that Sicilian cake, we might be enjoying that for weeks. Ow, that didn't hurt at all. Yes, it did. Oh, no, that's not the right book. I have so many disgusting cookbooks to go through. Here we go. The best ever recipes. Here, just to prove Australia was equally repugnant. The recipe was from the Woodstock Inn, Woodstock, Vermont. I doubt anyone stopped there for that naff little dessert on their way home from Woodstock. Just to show we're gross too, this is an Australian 1980s cookbook from a magazine called the Australian Women's Weekly, and we have piped mashed potato around the outside of a platter upon which we've served a chook. Just so you know, but that's also a big fat lump of parsley. That isn't broccoli. The timing was great. You could make it any time this month. It won't tip out of, if it's against a dish, it's too light. All right, well, I'm going to have to Google doing the collar. I always do a bit of research, even with my cooking before I go live. And I'm just going to randomly open this to a page for a savoury dish. Oh, we're back in salads. Salad land. Well, I've already got a curried egg salad I have to make. Oh, now we're in the pancake section. But wait, are they savoury? No, they're sweet. Okay, we're going to be making a chicken dish. And is this the photo? Yes. We're going to be making this horror. Ew. Swiss chicken from the 1980s in Australia. Swiss. We're going international. We've got the Sicilian cake, which is Italian, but it's nothing like a Sicilian cake. We're going to Switzerland via an Australian cookbook. And then we have the pumpkin mousse. But I didn't eat the pumpkin mousse. Shut up, you're already dead. So that's what we'll be making next. A bit more exciting than the curried egg salad. And it's something savoury for me to enjoy during the week. Anyway, groovers, let me check my timer. Still got 3/4 of an hour to let this thing I don't know what it's going to be doing in that pot. I can't even begin to think. So I'm going to set up another live, part 2 of the chicken and shrimp casserole, to come back live shortly and do a taste test. At some point one day, I'm going to have the time to download videos and edit them and put them all together. But for now, on the Shitty Kitty Kitchen channel, they'll just be in parts because, why not? So, yeah, I'll be back a bit later. If you guys are asleep, the taste test video will be really quick, the live that I do. So if you are going to bed, don't worry. You can find out in the morning how those rubbery prawns were. Colours are easy. It's just cooking. Oh, collars are easy. Cooking paper, parchment paper. You cut how many inches wide, wrap it around the dish. There's even cooking tape you could put it on. We could use, well, this recipe says twine. I will be using butcher's twine. I do try to stick to the recipes as much as I can. Good luck on the taste test. Thanks, Scout. And if you don't see me ever again, it's been real. Until next time. Anastasia, you should be back. Oh, cool. The porn bots have arrived. I'll just show you the door. I didn't want to see your private photo. Sorry. I'm not really into unsolicited dick pics from a bot. So, yeah. I'll be back a bit later on, Groovers, and let's find out if 1973 is going to be kind to me. Thanks for hanging out with me, Grooveroonies, and I might see some of you a bit later. Bye. Oh, by the way, I'm starting to get a flavour wafting out of the oven, and it smells like overcooked prawns. On that note, goodbye.